Hey YouTube, it's Kirby. You're watching another episode of Kirby Q. I'm just calling the episode. They're all running about 30 minutes long. So, my own little television show. Alright. But anyway, the video you're about to watch today, I had originally recorded back in February because my intention was to upload it for Black History Month and to spotlight this individual during Black History Month, but unfortunately during the interview we ran into some technical difficulties, and so I was kind of hesitant. Well, I wasn't hesitant, I just like, oh man, the video was messed up because the audio and everything got kind of messed up during the recording. But I was watching Meat Cranium a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about, hey, if you get messed up, you got to fail or something, go ahead and upload it. And so I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll go ahead and do my best to edit that video and upload it, because I really want to spotlight my interview with that individual. It's, of course, by the title, you know who I'm talking about, Sylvia Curry of Lady of Q out in California. I had a great conversation with her, and probably might redo another interview with her, doing a live stream here on YouTube and do it that way, just to go over it again. But before I go into the interview with her, I do want to, last weekend when someone I consider a barbecue mentor to me passed away, Johnny Young, Carolina Smoking John. I don't know how many of you guys follow him on Facebook or his YouTube channel. He's a competition cook from Winston-Salem, South Carolina. He passed away after a long bout. Well, it wasn't a long bout, but a bout with cancer. And that one kind of hurt me. That one really hurt me. I really appreciated Johnny's friendship, mentorship, and just enjoyed talking to him. Most of all, I really appreciated his service, his ministry service. I love the way him and Jeff Pavekis were two people that I found inspirational to me in taking their love and passion for barbecue and using that love and passion for barbecue to also serve others. So guys that have an opportunity to work with Operation Barbecue Relief, I might be butchering it now, I can't remember it right out. Operation Barbecue Relief is another outlet that people can use who are gifted in barbecue or just have a desire to cook and use to show their love for it. I mean, not show their love, but I'm gonna have to do some chopping up on this. But anyway, to Johnny's family, Pansy, Michelle, again, my sincerest condolences to you. I'm going to miss Johnny a lot. I took a tagline from him that I heard him do Cook's Church at a competition once, and he said, "Come on out and get a dose of do better." And so I started using that the times that I have hold Cook's Church. Come on out and get a dose of do better. So, but Johnny was a great guy, and I'm going to really miss him. So anyway, that's my tribute. Not tribute, but I just wanted to acknowledge Johnny Young and who he was and what he meant to me. All right, on to the interview with Sylvia Curry. As a matter of fact, I learned about Sylvia through Johnny. I was talking to him, and he mentioned Sylvia to me, how she was out in the West Coast and just was ripping things up out there and doing an awesome job. And I was like, well, who is she? And I found her, and she just so happened to be on YouTube doing cooking videos. So I started following her videos, and of course sent her a friend request on Facebook, and been following her ever since Johnny made mention of her. And so again, as I shared back, I wanted to do an interview for her to highlight African Americans who was involved in competition barbecue back in February. So I reached out to a couple of people, and she was one of the ones who responded to me, and we were able to connect and do a Skype interview. Is how I initially started. So Sylvia Curry, Lady of Q. She's a native of Los Angeles, California. She attended UCLA. I'm just reading off her bio, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. uh, and I'm not going to go into too much because the interview that I have, she covers a lot of this stuff. But she was a pharmacist for over 30 years, and you're going to hear her mention that. And some of her accolades in barbecue, I do want to spotlight in this segment of the video before we go to her interview. Um, She's a member of the California Barbecue Association. She's she sponsors classes as a mentor. She's taught and judged backyard events. She's the editor. She's one of the editors for the Barbecue Association feature page from 2013 to the present. She's a contributor to the California Barbecue Association's Facebook page from 2017 to present, and she's a contributor to the National Barbecue News California Barbecue Association page. She's also a chairperson of the Charitable Contributions Committee from 2013 to present, a member of the Hall of Fame Committee from 2017, and she chaired in 2018. She also was on the Oversight Committee for the California Barbecue Association Annual Awards, trophies and plaques. She's a spokesperson for the California Barbecue Association. She volunteered. She's also a KCBS member. Uh, what else? She's won a few grand champions, some reserve. She's been in the 700 club, not the 700 club for Pat Robertson, but the KCBS 700 plus club, and of course she got some 180s. And she's been featured in the LA Times, and there I got some clips of that. I was able to find some clips of her uh, for that. And she's been a panelist on the Taste of LA, a panel on competition barbecue. And I was able to find some photos for that. So I insert those during the course of her interview so you can see what she's talking about when she comes across it. So without any further delay, let's go to the interview conducted back in February. Again, this was to highlight African Americans involved in competition barbecue. And let's get started with that interview. See ya. All right. So, Sylvia, I'm recording now, and I want to introduce everyone on YouTube who may not know who you are. You are Sylvia Curry, Lady of Q, competition cook.
That's me.
All right. And of course, you have a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Lady of Q, and I do all things food. It's not just competition barbecue, it's just cooking.
And I see you have some good soul food dishes up there. Sometimes you run the gambit on everything that you cook. So I'm like, man. So do you have any? Do you have a culinary background?
No, not at all. Not at all. I took a couple of cooking classes at a local little place, and that's about it. Otherwise, all my cooking comes from YouTube and television. I grew up on a lot of television shows, like starting out with PBS shows with Natalie Dupree and people like that, and going on through Food Network.
Oh, what about Justin Wilson?
Yes, Justin Wilson also. A lot of Cajun cooking. And who are the other ones back? Galloping Gourmet and all of them.
So where does your passion for food come from?
Uh-oh, broke up again.
All right. So where does your passion for food come from?
You know, it didn't start off that way. It wasn't until I got married that I started cooking because I never cooked. My mother did all the cooking, and the only thing that my sister and I did in the kitchen was wash dishes. Um, and then when I got married, I just started to cook, and I liked it, and I just kept on doing things. I like to be challenged with things that I've never done before, And so cooking was a way of doing that. And it's like, oh, I'll try to make that. And whatever recipe looked like that was interesting to me, I'd try to make.
Okay, all right. And what's your favorite dish to cook?
Say it again.
What's your favorite
Broke.
dish to cook?
Oh, gosh. I like to grill. And
Okay,
so even though it's, so common and stuff, I like to grill steaks. My husband's a big fish eater, so I do grill a lot of fish also.
okay. And what is there a particular type of fish you like grilling?
He does deep sea fishing, so a lot of the fish are things like tuna,
Mm,
grouper, what's that other thing? Ono, wahoo, those type of fish.
okay, all right, all right. I'm just used to spot, croaker, and trout. So,
See, those are lake fish, or as he calls it. He likes the deep sea where the fish puts up a fight and he can haul the big stuff.
so tell me, Sylvia, how did you get involved with competition barbecue?
Oh my gosh. That was sort of just, I used to have a food blog way back in the early 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, and there. I used to post pictures on my blog about what I cooked. If I went to a restaurant and there was something interesting, what I ate or whatever. And I remember one day I posted some barbecue ribs that I grilled the ribs, and I got an email back from this guy. I don't know if you know him, Big Mister in Australia.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I got an email from him wondering if I wanted to be on a barbecue team because I was local. He was in LA then, I was in LA. And I said, what the heck? Because, like, I'm interested in cooking anyway, and that just sounded like it might be fun. And within a month after him bringing together two other guys, self and me, we did a competition. And I think each of us cooked one meat. I cooked the pork, Neil cooked the brisket, Susie Sakai cooked the what did he cook? Ribs, and Luis cooked the chicken. And ribs got a call, and so we all got hooked right after that and started doing competitions. That was my day of our team was 4Q.
So when did it evolve and become Lady of Q?
Well, what happened was over time, I'm the only one who didn't get over the barbecue bug. I should say I didn't get over it because Nick stayed in it, but he wanted to go off on his own. He had his restaurants and he had his team named Big Mister. The other two guys started doing their own family things and stuff, and so they couldn't commit to contests. And I remember having a talk with Neil, and he said, "You can do this by yourself. You don't need them." And he based that on the fact that I'm very pushy. I'm the one who kept them in order anyway. So it's like, what the heck? I'll do it. And I remember doing my first contest alone, and the only help I had was my husband carrying my boxes, doing my tasting, and helping me set up. And from then on out, it's like, oh, okay, I'm good. And actually, I won my first GC. I was still cooking as 4Q, and it was the last contest I did in 2011, and I won a GC in that contest cooking alone.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah,
So tell me about your very first cook as Lady as Q. That very first competition is you and your husband. You're out there. So how was that?
I'm trying to remember. It's Lady of Q. What was my first contest? That would have been. God, I don't remember which It was probably a contest. It's no longer there again. I think it was in Huntington Beach, and I had my new logo. I had everything all set up. I didn't have a trailer yet, so I was still cooking out of a canopy, and it was nice. I what I find is that I'm very organized. So as long as I had everything in place before I got to the contest, when I when I get there, everything's okay.
All right. As long with the edit, if you say you can still hear me.
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with the audio. So I don't want to tie you up for the rest of the day. And like you said, there's gonna be a lot of editing.
That's okay. I'm retired. Today is my off day. I'm doing the guinea pig that contest where they supply the meat this coming weekend, so I don't have to trim anything. So it's just a matter of just getting everything else organized.
Oh, okay. So I've done a guinea pig. The Smithfield Classic is what we called it. It was sponsored by
Eh,
Big Papa Smokers. And so, is that the same?
exact
Is that Big Papa?
same one.
Okay.
Right. He started here. He's in Coachella, Palm Springs. So he started here, and I've been doing that contest since its inception. And actually, I GC'd at it in what year was that? 2016.
Wow. 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 So, how many grand champions do you have overall?
Not that many. I was counting them up the other day. I've only got four GCs and two RGCs. I got a lot of top fives and a lot of top tens. Somehow or other, I just only break through with that GC every once in a while.
But you're grand. That's the thing that count. You're doing you're doing better than
I
me.
win. I still don't make enough to justify the cost, but it's all fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, what barbecue sanctioning bodies, organizations do you belong to?
I primarily do KCBS contests,
Okay.
and I early when we started competing earlier years. That was like 2006, 2007. I did a few IBCA, and that's just because there was a promoter here in Southern California who put them on. But because there aren't any other IBCA events, it's all KCBS for me.
So how did you like the two formats, IBCA to KCBS? How did you like them?
The the only big adjustment is you're only cooking three meats in IBCA. So you're cooking chicken, ribs, and brisket. And the chicken is a half chicken. And that's as far as the cook goes. But then as far as the judging, I don't particularly like the judging because they only take the top, I think it's a 10 or 15. And so if you're anywhere below that 10 or 15, you never know how you did
Mm.
in any category. So, and but other than that, the time between turn-ins is like an hour, and I find that to be too long. Sometimes you think that 30 minutes is too short, but actually, when you wait in a whole hour between a turn-in, it's real frustrating because you're twiddling your fingers a lot.
Okay. So since you began competing, have you noticed any increase in African Americans in getting involved in competition barbecue?
See, I'm on the West Coast, and you see some come, they don't stay around long, and there've been maybe a few teams. One of the big primary teams is out here, Simply Marvelous with Steph Franklin.
Okay.
He does the Simply Marvelous seasonings. He and I are probably the longest term um, teams here in Southern California, black teams. There's been a couple other ones, Barbecue. There was another guy, Tony Giles. I can't remember his team name, but they go in and out. Then there's another team that's been trying to pop through over the last couple of years. He only does a couple of contests a year, so he's not really hardcore into it. But what I find is that, they're we speckle. We're not a predominant uh, group.
So what would you say is probably the biggest reason most African Americans don't get involved in competition barbecue?
I think one of the biggest reasons is number one, the cost. Number two, it takes a lot of time away from family if you don't have the support of your husband or wife, or if you have small kids, then it's kind of hard to compete a lot when how do you justify spending all that money on competing and you got kids you got to put through college later on? And I don't know that it's African Americans are more in tune to that or not. And then the other thing I think is that they probably look at it that when you look at barbecue competitions, they're primarily white, and a lot of black folks just think that that their barbecue is better, and they can't. I don't know. I'm not wording this right, but they don't want to compete in that type of environment with their barbecue.
Mm. Yeah,
Well,
'cause
the
I
other
mean,
thing they don't. A lot of the black teams that come forth and do one contest a year or something like that, they usually don't do very well. And I think the reason for that being is that they cook the way they cook at home, and they never give themselves a chance to adjust to what competition barbecue is about.
So would you advise a new team, not only just African American, but would you advise any new team to take a class before getting involved in competition barbecue?
Absolutely. And there's, your learning curve is really shortened by taking a class, and you've got to take the right class. You can't just take a class by any Joe Blow out there who says they can cook barbecue. You need to take one by somebody who's winning, because if they're winning, currently winning, then they're in tune with the flavor profiles are now. And you want to take a class with someone who cooks on something similar to what you cook on.
Okay.
If you take a class with someone who's cooking on a jambo and you're cooking on drums, the techniques are a lot different. Your fire management's different.
Okay.
And in the day that we started out before Q, all of us cooked on WSMs, and that was Weber Smoky Mountains. That was what people cooked with in that time, and it was a long learning curve for us because there weren't any classes at that time. Most of the things that you learned from were some of the forums online, and that was just word of mouth type thing, and nobody really sitting with you or standing in front of you telling you, what will work and what won't work.
Mm-hmm.
So
And so
classes are very
it's like, yeah, go ahead and finish.
that was it.
Okay. So what do you think um, an organization like KCBS could probably do? I mean, save for the cost. I know that's one of the things that even here on the East Coast in the Mid Atlantic region, some of the other black guys that I've talked to, I know it is cost that makes it kind of hard for them to compete on a regular. But except for the cost, is there any other ideas that you may have that you think would make it more attractive to having more African Americans get involved in uh, competition barbecue?
I had this discussion with someone before. I'm not really sure that a sanctioning body should identify any one group to try to attract.
Okay.
Um, and I say that because, I mean, what would you do to make more black people get involved other than, well, maybe identifying black folks out there who are doing it so people can see, oh, just she can do it, I can do it, that type of
Hmm.
thing. But there's no other thing that I think they can do. Publicity wise, there's a lot of talk too, because I think a lot of women in barbecue is a big push this year. And you hear from a lot of guys, or I hear from a lot of guys, like, why are they doing a special event just for women, that type of thing. And it's like, if you can barbecue, you can barbecue amongst everybody who cues, not just in a group of women.
Hmm.
And, I think it has its purpose because it does identify the women are in barbecue. But on the other hand, it's, we're smoking in the boys' room, in order to quote Melissa Cookson. That's it.
And you've been pretty active in the barbecue scene. You sent me your bio, and you got quite a few of accomplishments. Share that with some of the viewers on YouTube. I mean, I can read them, but I'd much rather you share them. Some of your accomplishments in
Oh,
barbecue.
my accomplishments in barbecue. I guess I could start with I'm currently on this California Barbecue Association Board of Directors, and I've been on that board for 4 years now. I was recently inducted into the California Barbecue Association Hall of Fame, and that is all of my activities and what I've done over the years and involved in CBBQA. Not just cooking, but as far as with the association, being on the board, I write a lot of their feature articles. I contribute some articles to the what's the name of the MB the MBBQA newsletter. I also am involved in teaching. I've done some classes, And as volunteers, not classes where I've been paid to be there. And that would be through the CBBQA, where we have classes uh, to mentor to people to get into barbecue. I can't even remember all the other things I've done because after you've done them, you don't think of them as being
It's
hey,
just part
doing
of
the
who
Lord's
you
work.
are. It's just part of who you are, and you just want to spread the love of barbecue.
Spread the love of barbecue. I think one of the biggest things that I did, and that gets back to your other question, I did participate in that Fire and Ice Lady Pitmaster Challenge
Mm.
that the World Food Championship put on starting in, this is about 3 or 4 years ago now. And it required, in order to even go to that competition, you had to be the top 10 lady pitmaster in the country. And I think the first year I was the number one pit master in the country as far as qualifying. And I went to the event and RGC'd. I was second place overall. And it required me to drive from California all the way out to Orange Beach, Alabama. And a lot of people ask me, why would I drive that far for that type of a contest? And the primary reason for that was because I wanted to be on that stage and I wanted people to see me, not Sylvie Curry, but me, black woman, on that stage. And a lot of what I do in barbecue is that, just for a presence so that people know, hey, I'm here, don't forget about me. And it also, my logo, you see, it's pink and purple. Little girls love it. And I get a lot of people who come up to my trailer to take a picture of my trailer because there's this woman in barbecue. And they learned that I'm competing by myself. There's no guy there who's cooking. I do all the cooking. And I think that's an appeal to a lot of people that, hey, she can do it, I can do it.
Hey, that's great. That's great, and that's exactly right. If you can do it, that serves as inspiration for other women to get involved in barbecue, and especially other maybe African American females who may feel like they want to get involved in competition barbecue. I often remember, I can't remember the lady's name, but the very first Memphis in May winner was an African American woman. And so I can't remember her name, but her picture will be posted at the end of this video showing her. I can't remember her name, but very first person to win Memphis in May was an African American woman. So,
Fantastic. Yeah. And a lot of people, I didn't know that. And a lot of people don't know that.
hmm
It's important that people understand that, we're out there. It used to be where people, well, maybe I grew up in an environment where we thought that black folks were the only one who barbecued. But primarily, most of all the barbecue joints were black owned.
hmm
Uh, I don't remember ever going to a diverse, a non-black area and finding, a barbecue joint until you started seeing things like, I guess within the last 15, 20 years, things like, what is it? I can't even think of the name of that chain. Here in Southern California, there's one called Mike's and there's another one called Phillips. And they started popping up mainly during the era when pitmasters started coming on television and people got into eating barbecue. But prior to that, no.
Okay. And I was in San Diego a few years ago. I did go, I think it was Phillips, and I seen the line outside the door. I said, this must be some good barbecue. And I was sorely disappointed when I got my food, but
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've heard other people talk about it. I don't go to barbecue restaurants. It's because I know that I will get disappointed. And I hate to say that I know that my food is going to be better than anything their restaurant here, at least here in Southern California. Um, but then, if you don't know, you don't know. And I've
Mhm.
spoiled a lot of people who've come, like when we have parties and stuff, and I do barbecue. They're spoiled for the rest of their lives as far as going to a barbecue restaurant because they're not going to taste anything better at anything that's here in Southern California.
So when you cook for your private groups, are you cooking competition style barbecue, or do you bring it more of a backyard type of flavor profile?
If I'm cooking for, say, my husband and I and a couple of close friends, it's backyard barbecue, salt and pepper. Um, It probably won't have any sauce on it. You're gonna have to sauce it yourself. But if I have a big group of party, then I do it competition style because that's what everybody's expecting.
Okay. Okay. And what's your favorite side to cook with any barbecue dish that you make?
My favorite side, once again, is probably gonna be mac and cheese because that's my mother's recipe on that, and it's a very good recipe, and everybody likes it. So that's gonna be. Then there's also always going to be coleslaw, but that's just putting some veggies together with some mayo, salt, and pepper.
Okay. Okay. So tell me, what's your plans with barbecue? I mean, do you just want to continue to do competition barbecue? Do you want to open up a restaurant one day? Have Sylvia's Ladies of Q food truck or what?
Well, let's number one, let's say that I am retired and I
Hmm.
do not want to work ever again. And,
Okay.
and so to do any of those things, food truck, restaurant, that's work. And when it turns to work, then I'm through with it. Uh, because I enjoy it. It's fun. I like hanging out with people and stuff, and just the whole scene of it. But like I said, when it becomes work, then no.
Okay.
So I remain retired from working.
All right. Well, Sylvia, I want to appreciate you for your time. I thank you for all putting up with me and all the technical difficulties that we had today. And I don't even, I hope this thing is still recording. I see stop
If
record.
not, we'll do it again sometime. Yeah, it goes.
But I appreciate you and I enjoy talking with you. And if you're ever in Virginia, please look me up. I love to treat you and your husband out to dinner and or even cook for you.
To get that southern hospitality, that sounds good.
Hmm.
Usually,
Hmm.
the closest I get to Virginia, like I said, I go to North Carolina every year.
Okay.
But hey, you never know. Maybe some comp that I go to somewhere around that area sometime.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe you might do the battle in DC. That's a pretty big competition on the East Coast.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, I have my sister-in-law who lives in North Carolina has a whole shed full of my barbecue stuff. So when
Ah,
I come there, it's well, she already has her own pits. I use her pits, but all the other supplies and stuff, it's all there. So it's a matter of putting it in a U-Haul, a budget trailer, and taking it wherever I'm going.
okay. Well, you have a blessed day, Sylvia. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I really enjoyed it. And by the way, my wife's favorite color is purple, so she
Hey,
would love to see your trailer.
everything's purple. As my husband says, sometimes you look like a grape. It's like, oh, thank God.
Okay, Sylvia. Again, thanks, and you have a blessed day.
Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.